Welcome to Anaheim, California, an Angels Stadium. Beautiful ballpark, great night for baseball. It is 21 degrees at the start of this game tonight, and you couldn't ask for a better Friday night. The Angels set to take the field. Hector Santiago will make the start for the Angels tonight. And John Gibbons has seen his club split the first two games on this road trip. They split a pair in Philadelphia. Santiago beat them back at Rogers Center early in May, so they'll be anxious to get a little payback tonight against the 27-year-old left-hander. Let's take a look at John Gibbons' lineup tonight. Russell Martin in the lineup, and all the controversy about that hamstring, not an issue with Russell Martin.
Well, Russell's been nursing that hamstring for just a bit, but he looks like he's okay tonight.
Troy Tulowitzki, top of the order against left-handed pitchers like he'll face tonight. He's at .357 for the season, 9 extra base hits and 14 RBIs. Then down in the cleanup spot, Edwin Encarnacion. In August, boy, has he turned it up a notch. .362, and he's got that 16-game hit streak. 10 extra base hits since that period. They are set to take on the lefty, Hector Santiago.
27-year-old lefty Hector Santiago is making his 24th start of the season. He was named to the American League All-Star team for the first time this season. 6-4 with a 2.33 ERA. Before the break, that ranked him third in the American League. Last time out after a few rough ones after this year's break was against the Royals at Kansas City. He did not factor in the decision, but he went 7 innings, giving up just 2 earned runs.
Defensively for the Angels, you're going to see some new faces in this defensive alignment. Left fielder Shane Victorino just came over in a trade from Boston. Mike Trout, Cole Calhoun, they're both having outstanding seasons defensively. Caleb Coward is at third base. Eric Ibar, the former Gold Glover, is at short. Ryan Jackson starts at second. C.J. Cron's the first baseman. He's been swinging a hot bat behind the plate. It's the veteran Chris Iannetta handling Hector Santiago here tonight.
Eric Ibar at short was one of the mainstays, one of the key parts of this defense. This has been a struggling defense at times this year. Ibar solidifies things on that left side of the infield.
Eric Ibar won that Gold Glove in 2011. Got a lot of range and a quick release. He's the last shortstop other than J.J. Hardy to win a Gold Glove in the American League. Hardy's won the last 3. Troy Tulowitzki is set. Here's the first pitch of the ball game, and it's inside for a ball, and we are underway. Blue Jays are 15-3 when Tulowitzki starts at shortstop. There's a fastball from Santiago with the ball and the strike. Santiago is from Newark, New Jersey. He's 27 years old. And he has always been one of those guys that pitches in a lot of tough luck. Joey's always around the plate, throws a lot of strikes, and he's never really given up a lot of earned runs for his career.
Fastball command is going to be paramount, and it is for all pitchers, but when he starts spiking that pitch count, he gets in trouble. He's only gone 5 innings in 4 of his last 6 outings.
Tulowitzki gets jammed and pops it into the seats. Tulowitzki, 219 since coming over to the Blue Jays, 16 hits in 73 at bats. Now, I don't know about you, Joe. I just think it's a matter of time before we see him swinging it like he did in Colorado.
And I don't think John Gibbons could agree with you more. He is going to swing the bat. He was in a bit of a funk before he came over in the trade.
Boy, Tulowitzki is fit like glove in this clubhouse. Santiago's set now. Way outside. One thing Tulowitzki has done hitting the leadoff spot, he's taken a lot of pitches and made that pitcher work in the first at bats.
He's been doing that, and you know what, Buck? Sometimes he has almost done it to a fault. We've seen him take some pitches at times that he thinks he should have hit, and it's a bit of adjustment hitting that spot in the lineup.
Tulowitzki strikes out. Pitch upstairs, got him. Josh Donaldson, 33 home runs on the season, and at Rogers Center, he got to Santiago early.
The one thing Josh has done hitting at home at the Rogers Center, he realizes he can hit the ball out of the park to any field, and I think he's really developed some good hitting habits, staying on the baseball longer, and now he's just trying to continue to bring those same habits onto the road.
That home run came in the first at bat for Donaldson. He was leading off against Santiago in that game. That's when Reyes was on the disabled list. Josh would later on in that same game have a sacrifice fly. He drove in the only 2 runs the Blue Jays got in that 3-2 loss. Donaldson has 10 first inning home runs. He's had a knack for jump starting this offense.
And this is not a good approach by Santiago. You do not want to fall behind a hitter like this that can do so much damage.
Three and 0. Dangerous hitter on deck as well in Jose Bautista. This middle of the order is as potent as any in baseball. Three and 0, and Donaldson hit a 3-0 home run in Philly. Not this time. Ball 4. So Bautista will come up with Donaldson at first and 1 out. Jose is 0 for 3 against Santiago. Bautista, when he homers, the Blue Jays are 19-6. This is the anniversary of his trade from Pittsburgh to Toronto. What a turnaround for Jose and for the Blue Jays.
Well, he has been some kind of player in a Blue Jays uniform. And you talk about finding a home and really coming into your own as a player. Jose has done that as a Blue Jay.
Santiago is an extreme crossfire pitcher. He works from the third base side of the rubber. What kind of challenges does that present to the Blue Jays lineup?
Well, it's a right-handed lineup, and a lot of these boppers are hitting in that right-handed batter's box just as Jose is right now. And as a hitter, you're standing there and he's almost straight on you. So now when he works that fastball, he will pound these righties on the inside. Most right-handed hitters are used to seeing left-handed pitchers, or right-handed pitchers are going away, away, away. Left-handed pitchers that are fastball changeup. When you start getting pitchers like Santiago that will throw that fastball in and run the cutter in, that's where it poses a bit of a challenge because the ball's on you.
Bautista tried to check his swing and went around. It's now 2-2.
Little deception in that delivery from Santiago as well. It's almost as though he short arms the ball a little bit, doesn't come back all the way, and then all of a sudden slings it forward. And when you're up around 89, 91 miles per hour, the ball can get on you in a hurry, just not picking up the ball out of his hand very well.
It almost looks like he's going to first base when he breaks into his delivery. He leans there. You can see those 2 skid marks from the end of the rubber. Santiago puts those there as a little framework for his delivery. He will start up on the third base side of the rubber, left side of your screen. And he will do this to start the game. And just a little reminder for where he wants to land throwing out that crossfire delivery.
That is his runway. And a lot of pitchers will talk about opening a door and staying in the doorway. They have different terminologies, but it's to keep them in line with home plate.
Full count. Bautista pops it back over the screen. Edwin Encarnacion has been on fire lately. That's about his average in this hot streak. 16-game hit streak for Encarnacion. He would be next if Bautista can stay out of the double play. Another foul back. Get it, Joe. Just below our broadcast booth. Another foul back by Bautista. Jose's had a good month of August. In 17 games this month, he has 7 homers and 14 RBIs. Donaldson hasn't run a lot, but he's perfect 4 for 4 when he does run. Boy, it's so hard to run with this potent lineup. You don't want to get thrown out, lose a base runner. Ball 4. Bautista takes another walk. Bautista has done a terrific job taking those base on balls. That's 73 walks now, and Santiago is going to get a visit from his pitching coach, Mike Butcher. We mentioned Encarnacion's hot, Joe. He's got the longest active hit streak in the majors.
One thing he does when he's hot is he stays on the baseball longer. Edwin's a pull hitter. Brooke Jacoby, the Blue Jays hitting coach, will talk to me extensively about that. He will be a pull hitter, but when he thinks more center, that's like pulling the baseball. I mean, he if he wants to go the other way, if he thinks middle, that's best for him. But you can see where all of those pitches are, staying on the baseball much better. When he's not going good, he's pulling off with the head and the shoulder and the front side, coming around balls. But that shows you those hot spots right there.
Plus, Edwin is so strong, he can hit the ball out anywhere in the ballpark. So it's not a matter of having to pull it to hit it out. The Blue Jays have scored 71 first inning runs, and they're threatening to add to that total right here. The Yankees lead baseball. New York has scored 99 runs in the first inning going into play tonight. This will go a long way in giving David Price a little room to work. Santiago thought that was a pretty good pitch. He expected to see the right arm of Jeff Nelson go up in the air. Nelson, the veteran behind the plate, is the crew chief for this umpiring crew. One thing we have seen with this lineup, Joe, is they're very patient. They want to see what they're dealing with before they really turn the bats loose.
And this is a home run hitting lineup, but they're also a bunch of good hitters as well. And you just said it, they'll wait out, get that good pitch. They're not afraid to take a ball the other way. They've done a lot of things to make this lineup very complete.
Another ball downstairs. 2-1 to Encarnacion. Santiago has already thrown 21 pitches this inning.
And when you're Santiago, giving these Blue Jays hitters a lot of information, a lot of data, they see a lot of pitches and they're working ahead in the count. That's when it's dangerous for a pitcher. When he works ahead and can get on the plate early in the count, that's when he can do some damage and get some early contact.
It's just a little bit up, and kind of showing swings right through it. 2-2 now. Dismissed. It'll be a full count. What do you do here? Do you start the runners?
Pretty early in the ball game. The only problem is Edwin could strike out. He's bound to be able to do that. If Santiago strikes him out, it's probably a strike him out, throwing him out. You're really running yourselves out of an inning early. I'd let the man on deck, Justin Smoke, have a shot with 2 runners on.
So Mike Scioscia, the skipper. I think Jeff Nelson know what he thinks about his strike zone. 3-2 pitch. Runner's not going. He is walked. The bases loaded. Santiago has been struggling over his last 5 starts, and it continues early here tonight, Joe.
And it's all about command. Most pitchers will talk about fastball command. It's no different with Hector Santiago. When he was good earlier in the season, earning those all-star honors, he's pounding the zone early. He's getting ahead of batters. When you fall behind, especially this Blue Jays lineup, they're just too good to be falling behind and allowing them to hit in good fastball hitter counts.
Well, Justin Smoke gets to start tonight. He's a switch hitter who bat right-handed against Santiago. He has a grand slam. He hit it earlier against the Yankees' Ivan Nova in New York. That came as a lefty bat. No reason to chase anything that's borderline right now.
John Gibbons talked about Justin Smoke and his start tonight. He hasn't had a lot of starts as a right-handed hitter facing lefties, but he's had some success against Hector Santiago, and you can't say enough about the defense Justin provides at first base.
Smoke is 5 for 8 against Santiago, and you can bet John Gibbons knew all about those numbers. Boy, the Blue Jays got to cash in on this golden opportunity in the first. Santiago has only allowed one career grand slam. He has really been great pitching out of these situations. Opponent's batting average against Santiago with runners in scoring position, 175. Strike two.
See Chris Iannetta behind the plate. That's the toughest pitch for a catcher to handle against that left-hander. It's coming into that handcuff area. You want to catch it out front to hold it there and give that home plate umpire a good look. He got away. A lot of times umpires will not give you that call when you take that ball out of the zone like that.
He didn't do a very good job of catching that ball. It certainly looked more like a ball than a strike. 1-2, 1 out. The bases are loaded. Foul back. Donaldson's at third. He took the 1-out walk, followed by a walk to Bautista and Encarnacion. There, the numbers for Smoke with the bases loaded. That grand slam came in New York against Ivan Nova. Pulled foul. You got to be tough now. Can't take anything close.
A lot of his pitches move. Santiago gets a lot of movement. He's got the fastball, the cutter, then he's got mixes in the slider and change. But when you fall behind hitters, you cannot utilize all of your pitches. Now he's getting ahead of Smoke there. He's able to throw the breaking ball 1 and 2, going for the strikeout.
Another foul back. You can see Iannetta. He's got some sort of paint on his fingernails to make it easier for the pitcher. But Joe, can you ever pick up anything from a catcher's cadence as he gives signs?
Absolutely. And you watch Jose Bautista on second base right now. That's what runners will do. Base runners will do that. As a catcher, ideally, if you can get your signs down while that runner's not looking, maybe while he's peeking at the infielders, that's best. But base runners will always hone in. We've seen it happens all around the league. It's your job as a catcher to make sure your sequence is difficult to pick up.
Popped up on the infield. Infield fly. Smoke is out and the catch is made. Big out for Santiago.
Well, again, you get ahead in the count. You can utilize all your pitches, and this off-speed pitch was up in the zone. Probably not a strike, but Justin chases. He's fooled by the off-speed. He's out front, pops it up in the infield. That's exactly what Santiago is after right there, either a strikeout or a pop-up in the infield. He got one.
So that'll bring Russell Martin to the plate, and Santiago wants a new baseball. Martin, when he faced Santiago back in May at Rogers Center, he went 2 for 3 off him. Did a good job going the other way. Stayed on the off-speed pitches and had a couple of hits. He needs one right here with 2 outs. Santiago will pitch out of the windup.
Throughout Martin's struggles, he's been really trying to get back the other way, thinking opposite field. That's what's helped him get out of slumps in the past. He feels that he's a right center type of hitter, but in doing that lately, what he's also feeling is that he's getting the ball a little too deep in his stance. Fastballs are beating him, so it's just a timing issue that he has to hone in on. Brooke Jacoby talked about maybe thinking more center field instead of right center field. They'll keep him on the baseball, trying to get that timing back.
Jacoby's team has been very good all season long, delivering clutch hits. They're second in the American League, batting with runners in scoring position. Ball on the strike. Well, one thing for sure, they made Santiago throw a lot of pitches. And last pitch was his 33rd of the game. But he won't mind throwing a couple more pitches if he can get out of this without allowing the Blue Jays to score.
Well, he's really not helping himself out. And we talk about the way Santiago throws across his body. It's very difficult to repeat your delivery like that. And that's where he can get into these funks or these ruts where he's just fighting the strike zone. Throwing across his body, it's very difficult to come across and get to that same release point consistently.
Ned and Santiago trying to figure out how to get out of this inning. Mike Trout now has moved back a little bit more straight up in center. He was really shaded over in the alley in right center. He's just wandering back over in that direction. They're going to play Martin the other way. Two balls and 2 strikes. Both managers have barked at Jeff Nelson so far this inning.
Well, it's tough too when the pitcher's all over the place and then he paints one on the corner or at the knees and then he gets the call.
Full count. The runners will be off on the pitch. Donaldson from third. Bautista at second, and Encarnacion. Kevin Pillar is on deck if Martin can reach base and keep the inning alive. He walked in a run. 4 walks in the inning after striking out the leadoff man Tulowitzki. And that's the kind of stretch it's been for Hector Santiago. First time he has walked 4 in a ball game since May 7th against the Astros right here in Anaheim. His season high base on balls came on the 26th of April when he walked 6. So Martin gets an RBI. The bases remain loaded for Kevin Pillar. Pillar is a Southern California native playing in this ballpark for the first time.
What a thrill for Kevin. A lot of family and friends here to see him tonight.
Chased one upstairs. A 1-2.
That's where a pitcher can get away with a pitch. It's a changeup from Santiago. That is not where he wants his changeup. He wants that thing to be down and away. Left that ball up in the zone. Got Pillar to chase anyway. Got away with it.
Bouncing ball foul outside of third. Blue Jays lead it 1-0. Santiago has walked in a run. Bautista, Encarnacion, and Martin on the bases. Now Kevin Pillar has to battle with 2 strikes. Line drive to left field. That's going to be dropped by Victorino. 2 runs come in to score. Victorino looked like he just whiffed on it. He slid, had it right there in front of him, and 2 more runs come in to score.
Well, that is a big break for the Blue Jays, and especially, again, you referred to it earlier, Buck, with David Price on the mound. He will take that in the first inning. It looked like Victorino had a beat on it. He was coming in and tried to make the sliding catch. That's not as difficult a play as it looks. Outfielders will tell you it's no problem sliding in to catch a ball that's low to the ground. And you're right, he just whiffed it. It went right off the thumb of his glove.
Victorino's a 4-time Gold Glover. He is charged with an error. No RBIs on the play, but it's 3-0 Blue Jays. The defense has really been a problem for Mike Scioscia's Angels this season. Once again, it rears its ugly head.
And such a big play, too. It's an opportunity to bail your pitcher out of this inning with just 1 run. That would be a great job by Santiago, limiting the damage. But now the Jays have put up 3.
And the air has continued to add to Santiago's pitch count. Shane Victorino, I mentioned, a 4-time Gold Glove winner. There's a line drive to right. That's down for a base hit. Calhoun's throw is a good one. They stop Martin. Of course, he's got that bad hamstring, but Calhoun throws very well. He's got 7 outfield assists. Well, Ben Revere gets the first base hit of the inning in the 9th spot. Excuse me, the 8th spot in the lineup.
A combination of a great arm in right field and Cole Calhoun. And the ball was hit hard, so he fielded it on one hop. He came up and threw a laser, but Russell Martin just kind of hobbling around third there. Luis Rivera has no choice but to hold him up there. Talked about Russell. He's been nursing that hamstring, trying to continue to play through it, but the last thing you're going to do is wave your catcher home in that situation.
Absolutely. So it's 3-0, and the Blue Jays will bat around in the first. That gives them 74 first inning runs this season. Cliff Pennington, the switch hitting second baseman. David Price said, "Go ahead, boys. I'm fine with it. I've got lots of time to get loose." 0-2. Pennington had a big RBI double Wednesday night in Philadelphia in the 5th inning. Part of a 2-run inning. That made it a 4-2 Philadelphia lead. Way inside. That almost got away from Iannetta. Pennington strikes out. The inning is over, but the Blue Jays score 3 runs on just 1 hit. 4 walks and a big error by the left fielder. Shane Victorino just couldn't make the catch on this little looping fly ball to left, and the Blue Jays cash in. Santiago's had a rough stretch over his last 6 games. That inning lasted 25 minutes. Santiago threw 48 pitches. Now let's take a look at the lineup for the Angels. Mike Trout in that 3rd spot. In his career, he's played 611 games. He has 131 home runs and 379 RBIs, and he just turned 24 years old. The future is very bright, of course, for Mike Trout. Veteran catcher Chris Iannetta this year against the Blue Jays has put up good numbers. 3 extra base hits and 3 RBIs, 5 for 11 for the season for the veteran catcher. They are set to take on David Price, who's had a little problem here in Anaheim in the last few starts.
Oh, David Price making his 25th start of the season, the 4th in a Blue Jay uniform. He's allowed 2 runs or less in 13 of his last 16 starts, but against the Angels, He took the loss in his only start this season back on May 31st while still wearing a Tigers uniform. Dating back to 2013, he's lost his last 3 starts against the Angels, all 3 coming right here in Anaheim.
This will be his 8th career start against the Angels here in Anaheim. Shane Victorino in his 12th season in the big leagues. He takes a first pitch strike from David Price. He pops it up. Smoke, the first baseman, calls for it, makes the catch in fair territory. Both part of the defense behind David Price tonight. Let's take a look at the outfit. It's Revere, Pilar, and Bautista, and they can cover the spacious outfield in Anaheim. Donaldson, Tulowitzki, Pennington, and Smoke from third base to first base, and Russell Martin will handle David Price tonight.
Kevin Pillar gets a chance for the first time to play at home here at Angel Stadium in front of many families and friends. What a thrill.
He was scheduled to come out here with the Blue Jays last year, but that was right after he was demoted back to AAA Buffalo. Disappointing time in his career. This is Cole Calhoun, the right fielder, and boy, has he had a fine season. Calhoun has put up career numbers in home runs and RBIs this season. The fly ball to Pilar, who ranges over in the alley and makes the catch. 2 outs. Let's check in with Hazel May. Thank you, Hazel. Of course, Mike Fiers picked up from the Milwaukee Brewers to fortify that rotation for Houston. Boy, he's in a pretty good position now. 3-0, top of the ninth. This is Mike Trout batting with 2 outs and nobody on. Boy, Price. You talk about a thoroughbred sensing what's going on. He's got a 3-0 lead, and he's pounding that strike zone.
And sometimes it can be very difficult for a pitcher to wait in that dugout for that long. How about the veteran Price just coming out and pounding the strike zone?
Yeah, there's no reason to get tricky early in this ball game. Just see what the Angels are featuring. Mike Trout just 3 for 13 going head-to-head with David Price. Trout has been scuffling a bit at the plate. He was 0 for 13 before he picked up 3 hits in his last 6 at-bats. Done a good job batting with 2 outs this season for the Angels. Price thought it was strike 3.
We'll see a lot of this from David Price. He is going to pound the outside corner against right-handers with his fastball and with his cutter. It's a backdoor cutter. He'll start it off the plate away, try to bring it back in there. And then, of course, he's also got that changeup, which has been an outstanding pitch for him. What a combination.
This down and away. Full count to Mike Trout. Albert Pujols is on deck. Pretty potent 3-4 punch here for the Angels. No swing according to Laz Diaz down at first base. So Trout has a 2-out walk. Albert Pujols has 33 home runs, and he's moving up the all-time home run list.
He is just some kind of slugger, one of the elite sluggers in this game.
2 behind Manny Ramirez, and Reggie Jackson will be next at 13. With 33 home runs this season, Albert Pujols has passed Mickey Mantle, Ted Williams, Jimmy Fox, Willie McCovey, and Frank Thomas. Hall of Famers. David Price misses with that first pitch.
Just been so consistent throughout his career. Of course, slowing down a little bit now, one would think, with age and injuries, but Albert's gotten right back on that train this year. 33 homers.
5-game hit streak. He's hit 3 home runs during that mini hit streak. Price misses with the first 2 pitches. Mentioned David Price has lost his last 3 decisions in this ballpark. Earlier this season, May 31st, he lost 4-2, going 7 2/3 for the Tigers. Pujols drives it to right. Bautista, ball's carrying much better than he thought initially, but he's able to run it down on the warning track. The 2-out walk did no harm. We've played an inning here in Anaheim, and the Blue Jays are up 3-0.
It is still the only no-hitter in Blue Jays franchise history. Tune in Sunday, August 30th at 12 noon Eastern for Dave Stieb, Almost Perfect. A special look back at the game's significant moments is shared by some of the participants, including Dave Stieb. You guys are both catchers. What is that feeling like when you have a catcher on the verge of throwing something so special?
It's a pretty special feeling, and Dave Stieb was one of those guys that had a chance to throw a no-hitter every time he went to the mound. And Joe, I don't know that there's ever been a pitcher more dominant in a Blue Jays uniform than Dave Stieb.
Well, that's one of those days, I'm sure, you're putting the fingers down and he's executing every single pitch.
This is Troy Tulowitzki. After the Blue Jays batted around in the first, he struck out, and then that started the walk parade. Tulowitzki hooks it to third. Caleb Cowart makes the play. One down. Let's check in with Hazel May. Well, that's certainly going to be a shot in the arm for Houston as they are trying to maintain their lead over this Angel Ball Club. That will push them to 3 full games ahead of the Angels on the strength of that no-hitter. And Houston, my goodness, they are 43-21 at home now after that win and no-hitter from Mike Fiers.
Well, they did some nice things before the trade deadline. Scott Kazmir as well, another huge pickup on the mound, and of course Gomez in the outfield.
Houston is for real, that's for sure. They are now 67-56 for the season. Josh Donaldson walked and scored the first run of the ball game. Minnesota beating Baltimore 4-3 in Baltimore. Minnesota beating the Orioles second straight day. They pounded on them pretty good yesterday, 15-2. The Yankees are now trailing 7-3 at the hands of the Indians. They're in the bottom of the ninth in New York. Donaldson drives it down the right side. A long drive to right, but it slices foul into the seats. Joe, that's what you were talking about Donaldson becoming a hitter that hits it foul pole to foul pole.
And that's what you want to see. I know Josh has been working on that. Take that approach onto the road now, and you may not hit as many out of the ballpark, but we've seen the power that this man has, and he can, I think, at any ballpark. And when you shoot one down the right field line here at Angel Stadium, it really curves in there. That's not foul by a whole lot.
Foul back. That's into the broadcast booth. You take a look at Donaldson's home runs by direction, 14, 11, and 8. Boy, he has spread it around, Joe.
Well, he really has, and that's what you do when you stay on the baseball so well. He stays inside the baseball, but he's not pulling off. If you pull off, that's going to be when you get very pull happy, but he can go all the way around the park.
Right back to the mound. Santiago knocks it down, throws to first for the out. Santiago says, I'm okay. I got my glove on it. No problem at all. Jose Bautista walked for the 73rd time in the first inning. Came around to score. Bautista has now scored 77 runs. He's fifth in the American League in runs scored. Donaldson, scoring his run in the first inning, has now scored 90 runs.
Jose continues to find ways to get on base. That average may be down a little bit, but he's got an awful lot more to his offensive game. On base percentage still over 350.
Oh, he's got a good eye. And you mentioned the fact, he's hitting 236, and you think, well, maybe he wants to get some hits and try to boost that average, but he's been so patient. And that sends a great message to his teammates. Taking the walks, getting on base, passing the baton to the next guy.
We've heard them use that term a lot in talking to these Blue Jays hitters, passing the baton, because they know if they just have a quality at bat, quality plate appearance, the next guy can run you in.
Unlike the Angels lineup, more often than not, if you shut down Trout and Pujols, you got a great chance to beat them.
Yeah, you want to pitch around those two, make sure those two don't beat you. Try to have those two come on base, come up to bat without runners on base.
Bautista hits a high fly ball to left. Victorino over to his left. Santiago retires the side in order. 3 up, 3 down. We'll go to the bottom of the second. The Blue Jays and David Price with an early lead.
in Detroit. It happened to have been caught by a young woman from Sarnia. This woman's uncle just happened to be one of the biggest Justin Smoak fans. Her uncle also suffers from cerebral palsy. What she did is she sent the baseball to the Toronto Blue Jays asking if there was any way that Justin Smoak could sign it because her uncle's 45th birthday was coming up. Sure enough, Justin Smoak signed it, said happy birthday to the Uncle Paul. The ball got sent back, and as you can see from the photos, Uncle Paul was absolutely thrilled to find the baseball signed by his favorite player, Justin Smoak. Guys, we see ball players do so many great things, and this is just another example.
Well, it sure is, Barry. That's a great story. And great Blue Jay fan, very happy gift on his birthday. C.J. Cron grounds out to shortstop. First out of the second inning. Justin Smoak accommodating that fan request, and Blue Jays do that all the time. They just don't hear about it. We know about it, Joe.
Yeah, Justin Smoak, as humble as he is, I know that the video hit social media, and I'll tell you what, if you haven't had a chance to see it, take a peek. It's very emotional, very special, and what a great thing done by Justin Smoak.
Eric Ivor, the switch-hitting shortstop, batting right-hand. He goes after the first pitch, and Kevin Pillar comes in from his position in center, makes the catch. The Yankees game has gone final. Cleveland beats New York 7-3. So the Blue Jays are now a game behind the New York Yankees. Joe, isn't it interesting how much this thing is going to go up and down, up and down?
It's hard to get too excited because there is, believe it or not, still a lot of baseball to be played. And I'll tell you what, if there's any indication, if the 6 games that the Blue Jays just played with the Yankees is any indication of what's going to happen, it's going to be a wild month of September.
7 more games with New York, including a 4-game series in the Bronx. That's what you play for. Chance to go into Yankee Stadium and beat the best. They're leading the division as we speak. Chris Iannetta takes a first pitch strike from Price. There's a changeup, strike 2. Joe, there's a lot of people that think David Price, he throws 97. Why wouldn't he just throw 97 all the time?
He's got a lot of weapons, and we've seen the breaking ball on occasion, but the changeup and the cutter for me are 2 of his best pitches to go along with. He'll average 94, but he can get it up to 97 when he needs to.
One thing we have seen from David Price since he's joined this ball club is he is engaged in the baseball game, whether he's pitching or not.
And one thing he has done over the last 4 or 5 years is he's increased the usage of that changeup. Now, a power pitcher going to the off-speed pitch, what does that tell you? Never good enough. Always trying to get better.
Another fly ball to right. Should be an easy play for Bautista. And it is. 3 up, 3 down. The Angels go quietly. Just 7 pitches for Price in the second.
Months, and there are now only 5 spots left. It goes November 15th through the 20th in Dunedin, Florida. You can join Roberto Alomar, George Bell, Devon White, and many more for the ultimate Major League experience. Your package includes airfare, hotel, meals, uniform, and 4 days of baseball. For more information, go to bluejays.com/fantasycamp. And after getting to know some of those alumni Blue Jays, Buck, I'd imagine these secret handshakes and home run celebrations will not be part of fantasy camp.
No, I don't think so, but it'll be a lot of fun. There'll be a lot of laughs. You saw that from Bell, Barfield, and Mosby. Should be a great time. Edwin Encarnacion takes one inside from Santiago. Well, the Blue Jays now, Joe, they've seen a lot of pitchers from Santiago, and we're just in the third inning. They have a pretty good idea what to look for.
And that's the one thing for good hitters. When you see more pitches, you're accumulating that information, that data, you're stockpiling it. Continue to use that now, getting through the second time through the order. They've seen a lot of what he has, but Santiago's done better here. In the second inning, did a better job of working ahead with these hitters.
Now, just outside the left field line, Encarnacion. Edwin, he walked and scored in the first inning. Edwin's done a terrific job this season getting on base to start innings. Taking a walk, getting a base hit. And this time he takes a called strike 3, 1 down.
Save during Canada's Caller Expert Sale. Only at Home Hardware and Building Center locations. Homeowners helping homeowners with expert advice.
Beautiful Anaheim, California. The gorgeous stadium here. Angel Stadium. It opened up first time in 1966. The Giants and the Angels played an exhibition game on April 9th, 1966, and it's gone through several different changes. It was an enclosed stadium for a while when the LA Rams came here and played football. Then the Rams moved to St. Louis, and they blew up the stadium and took it back more toward its original state. Justin Smoke pulls it foul. Smoke pops up with 1 out and the bases loaded in the first, and it looked like the Blue Jays might waste a golden opportunity, but then Russell Martin took a bases loaded walk, and Kevin Pillar reached on an error that led to 2 runs. Two balls and 2 strikes to Justin Smoke. It was a big error for the Blue Jays and a costly one for the Angels. Shane Victorino committed the error on a sinking line drive. It was his first error since August 14th, 2013, spanning 113 games. And it was interesting in that it was also against the Blue Jays when he committed that last error.
You just don't see that very often from Shane Victorino. It came at a big time, too, in that first inning. He catches that baseball. We've got a 1-0 ball game.
Ground ball to third. Coward has it. 2 down. Well, the Angels have had a tough stretch of games recently, and they just completed a 1-6 road trip, and they've gone 1-12 in their last 13 road games, and they were hopeful of getting things turned around here on this homestand. They took 3 of 4 from the White Sox and lost a tough one last night. They were on the verge of sweeping the 4-game series, but now they have fallen behind in game 1 of this 3-game set.
Well, they've just been a team that's really struggled to score runs. Even some of those ball games they were winning. This is a team that just has not swung the bats very well this season.
This is popped up and playable. C.J. Cron, the first baseman. That ball is moving and he drops it. Oh, man. That's another poor defensive play, and for me, that's the second baseman's ball.
Ryan Jackson has to come over. We could see C.J. Cron was fighting that baseball. No real problem with the sky right now. It's pretty dark out here in Anaheim. The sky is dark. Shouldn't be a problem at all, but you could see C.J. Cron as a second baseman. You know that he starts drifting like that, you've got to call him off.
Well, Cron, that's his third error. This is his 22nd start at first base, and he was really battling that ball as it was slicing back toward the field, and the second baseman was right there, and he's got a much better angle on it. Ryan Jackson, the second baseman, could have helped him out. So Kevin Pillar, he pops it up. Pillar hit that sinking liner to left with 2 outs. Looked like it was going to end the inning, but Victorino committed the error. Another pop-up. You can hear the crowd getting on the Angels. Jackson makes the catch, and the 2-out error. Blue Jays leave a base runner. We'll go to the bottom of the third.
As Brock Lesnar takes on The Undertaker. WWE SummerSlam this Sunday, August 23rd at 7 Eastern on the WWE Network. Subscribe today at WWE.com/Canada. And Buck, our pal and big Blue Jays fan, Stephen Amell is getting into the ring during SummerSlam as well.
He is.
Oh, yeah.
I hope he's going to be a referee.
No, he's wrestling. He's been training for weeks.
No, he should be a referee. I've seen Steven. Those guys are out of his weight class. So we move to the bottom of the third here in Anaheim. Ryan Jackson, Caleb Cowart, and then back to the top of the order, Shane Victorino. Ryan Jackson filling in at second base, and they've had all sorts of problems since they let Howie Kendrick go to free agency. Kendrick, of course, playing with the Dodgers. Actually, Kendrick is a free agent at the end of this year. They traded him to the Dodgers. We got Andrew Heaney, the left-handed pitcher, who will pitch tomorrow. But Jackson is 27 years old. He was originally drafted and signed with the Cardinals, and then he has bounced around. He's spent parts of 2 years with the Cardinals. 2012, he got into 13 games. 2013, just 7. So he's done most of his work in the minor leagues. This is his 6th game with the Angels. He's got some Blue Jay ties in that he was acquired by the Angels in a trade with Kansas City for Drew Butera. Sal Butera's son, who's catching in Kansas City now. That trade happened on May 7th this season. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Strike 3 called. Price finds that strike zone. First strikeout of the night for David Price.
Outstanding job here by Russell Martin. This is that tough pitch to handle. First of all, it's a high velocity fastball, but Russell does not allow that ball to take his mitt out of the strike zone. He receives it and really holds it there. That gives home plate umpire Jeff Nelson a real good look over his head.
You know what? There's a lot of talk about framing in this day and age, and I don't know how you feel about that, Joe, but I think it's all about receiving the baseball and keeping your glove as quiet as possible.
I prefer the word receiving. I've never liked the word framing, because right when I think about framing, I think of actually catching the ball firmly and really squaring it off to show the umpire. To me, no, it's receiving it, funneling things towards the middle of your body, which is the strike zone.
This is Caleb Cowart. He is 0 for 10 in his big league debut with the Angels. Cowart, former #1 pick. Pretty interesting story. He was a switch hitter out of high school in Georgia. Got off to a decent start in his minor league career, and then really hit rock bottom. Decided first of all to give up switch hitting. And then he even thought about going back to the mound, because he was a two-way player coming out of high school. Chopped toward third. Donaldson lets it bounce. It's in foul ground. But Cowart really resurrected his career. He went all the way back to A-ball after a couple of seasons in Double-A in the minors. Resumed switch hitting, and then got off to a great start this year in Triple-A. Hit .323 in Salt Lake City. He had 13 doubles. Drove in 68 runs between A-ball and Triple-A. And now he's filling in for the injured David Price, the regular third baseman. Angels tried Connor Gillespie, but that didn't work out. They let him go. Price ahead, a ball and 2 strikes. Got it. Back-to-back strikeouts for Price here in the third.
Well, David Price is simply overpowering the bottom of this Angels lineup. He did it to Ryan Jackson, and then now Caleb Cowart. They've just got no chance with this high velocity fastball from David Price.
Back to the top of the order. Shane Victorino popped out to the first baseman. His first time up. Victorino appeared in 33 games with the Red Sox this season. He came over to Anaheim on July 27th for a minor league infielder. The Angels really were searching for outfield help. They picked up David DeJesus, David Murphy, and Shane Victorino. Basically, all three the same type of players.
It's almost like it's a tryout camp type of situation.
This is popped up. Shallow center field. Pennington backs up, calls for it, and makes the catch. David Price, 3 up, 3 down. Price has retired 7 straight.
Presented by the 2015 Honda Civic, Canada's best-selling car for 17 years in a row and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Gorgeous night in Orange County, California, as the Blue Jays are taking on the Angels, first of three. Hector Santiago has only allowed one hit, but he walked four, all in the first inning. And he's thrown 80 pitches. Ben Revere has the only base hit of the ball game. That came with 2 outs in the first. The Blue Jays scored 3 runs on 4 walks and an error. Revere takes a strike. It's 2-1. 8-9-1 for the Blue Jays here in the fourth. Joe, you know, all the way back in the spring training, Brooke Jacoby and Eric Owens, the hitting coaches, always encourage the hitters in the series try to get into that bullpen early. You never know how it's going to affect the whole series. That ball's off Crone. That's going to be another misplay by the Angels. It's an infield hit, but a lot of first basemen make that play routinely as he was in guarding against the bunt.
Well, it's not an error this time on C.J. Cron, but it's another play that Mike Scioscia would like to see made, and this is what he's talking about when you talk about a struggling Angels defense. This is a 2-hopper over there. He's playing in, guarding against the bunt, but you got to make that play. And this has been just misery for Scioscia and his defense.
Well, and you can see Cron's probably better off stay on his feet. He could glove that ball and then flip to the pitcher. Santiago was on his way to first. Cliff Pennington, a strikeout victim, into first. We haven't seen Revere run, but if there was ever a chance for him to run, it's right now. Cliff Pennington batting in the 9th spot. He's a veteran that will let Revere run. Revere 24 of 29 with the Phillies prior to the trade.
You think of C.J. Cron over there at first base, missing that pop-up earlier as an infielder. You make an error early in the ball game, you're on pins and needles the rest of the game. Any ball hit at you now, you can almost see he was tense going after that little 2-hopper off the bat of Revere.
Ball on a strike to Cliff Pennington. There goes Revere. Pennington fouls it back. It's the first time we've seen Ben Revere break for second, and he had a good jump.
Well, he's been batting 9th a lot for the Blue Jays, and when you turn that lineup over, there's really no need to run when you've got Tulo and Donaldson and Bautista coming up. But Ben Revere finally gets a chance, and he's going first move right here on Hector Santiago. He lifts that leg. Revere is gone. And it's not a bad time to go either. 1-2 count. You might be anticipating. Ball in the dirt.
Strike 3 called. Cliff Pennington thought it was off the plate inside, but Jeff Nelson rings him up. That's 4 strikeouts now for Santiago.
What Santiago will do that. We talked about his ability to pound right-handers in. He'll do it with the 4-seam fastball as well as the cutter. And if you can get right-handed batters being conscious of the inside part of the plate, get them leaving early a little bit. Now you start going back away with the 2-seamer away and the changeup. And that's how left-handers will pitch. It's a great pitch by Santiago.
Troy Tulowitzki, the leadoff man. There goes Revere. He got a terrific jump, and Tulowitzki fouls it off. Revere's got the green light, but they will check on the release times of the starters, and they get up over 3-1. Or 1-3, 1-4, then they'll start turning that base runner loose.
Yeah, that's the golden number. 1.3 seconds when a pitcher initiates his delivery till the time that ball gets in the catcher's mitt. And then most major league catchers will be around 1-9, 1-9-5, getting it down to second base.
Tulowitzki swings right through it. It's 0-2. Fernando Salas starting to loosen up as Santiago is up over 90 pitches in the 4th inning.
Santiago made a nice pitch again on the inside part of the plate. That's where he has to be. That's when he's effective. When he can pound that fastball in there around 90 miles per hour. Looked like Tulowitzki may have gotten a break right there on that call from Jeff Nelson.
We're in the fourth inning. The Blue Jays scored all of their runs in the top half of the first. Took advantage of Santiago's wildness. He walked in a run, and then two more runs came in on the air by Victorino. Revere getting back very easily, standing up.
Not a real good move from Santiago. You can see when he's going over to first base, his entire body changes. Ben picking that up easily, scooting back to the bag.
Popped up. C.J. Cron over near the Blue Jays dugout. He leans into the dugout, but it's beyond his reach. I've been in that situation before, Joe, where you get a couple of plays, maybe drop a pop-up or something like that, and sure enough, they're going to hit you one or two more before the game's over.
Well, exactly. As a catcher, it can happen in pop-ups or even receiving pitches. I know sometimes you're just missing some balls. You're having balls pop out of your mitt throughout the course of the game. Well, that happens once or twice. Now, the rest of the game, you're thinking of that, and you may not drop anymore the rest of the game, but you're probably not receiving the ball very well because you're thinking about it so much.
There goes Revere. This is popped in the air to left. Revere heads back toward first. Victorino makes the catch. 2 down. Josh Donaldson has walked and grounded out. Take a look at his pitches where he hit home runs in August, and Joe, those two pitches away are significant.
We talk about how he's trying to stay in the middle of the field. He knows that he can leave the ballpark anywhere, and those two pitches on the outer half of the plate, where did he hit them? Right field, opposite field home runs. All the others middle in, but then we've got that one hanging cutter. That was from Phil Hughes against the Twins when it backed up on him, but that shows you what Donaldson could do. Use the whole field.
Drives this one deep to left. Victorino on the run. He is not going to get it. Revere is all the way around third already, and Josh Donaldson has driven in another run. RBI number 92. He leads the majors in that department. Boy, that's a big two-out hit for Donaldson. The Blue Jays have been strapped, scoring in only one run in a game, and that's a huge run here in the fourth.
Well, Josh got that pitch up and out over the plate. Santiago had made some good pitches, but then this not very good. Up and out over. He missed his spot. Clearly, Josh may have gotten towards the end of the bat a little bit. He didn't get all of this by any means, but clearly enough to get into the gap, and with the speedy Ben Revere on board, he scores easily.
And that's going to be it for Hector Santiago, the right-hander. Fernando Salas coming out of the bullpen. He'll work to Jose Bautista with a man in scoring position in 2 outs. The Blue Jays lead it 4-0 early here in Anaheim.
3 wins in their first 3 games as they host star striker Harry Kane and Tottenham Spurs. The game goes tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. Eastern, 6:30 Pacific on Sportsnet. Buck.
Thank you very much, Barry. A difficult start for Hector Santiago. He goes 3 2/3. He's charged with 4 runs, just 2 earned runs. Fernando Salas will make his 54th appearance of the season.
That ERA at 3.99. The bullpen has not been a bad thing for the Angels. They've done a pretty good job overall this season, but Salas earned his 3rd win of the year Monday night. That was after working a shutout inning. He's allowed 7 of 36 inherited runners to score this season.
And he's inherited Donaldson at second with Bautista at the plate. Jose has walked and flied out. Off speed pitch for a strike. It's 1-1.
Salas will average just around 89 miles per hour with the fastball, and he's got a slider and changeup to go with it.
Salas came to the Angels in 2013 in an offseason trade along with David Freese, the 3rd baseman. Peter Borges and Randall Grinchuk went the other way to the Cardinals. Last year, he appeared in 57 games and won 5 games, went 5-0. Ground ball to short. Big hop for Ibar. Takes his time and the inning is over, but the Blue Jays add a run. Josh Donaldson with a double, his 31st double. Drives in his 92nd run of the year. Donaldson leads the majors in runs scored and RBIs.
Official team shop for your Toronto Blue Jays, bringing together the largest selection of Blue Jays products anywhere. Visit us online at jshop.ca. Plenty of Blue Jays gear around the Anaheim area today, Buck.
Barry, they must be shopping online because we see Blue Jays gear wherever they go, and there's a lot of Blue Jays friends and family of the team players here. A lot of the players live in Southern California. I know tomorrow night we expect a huge contingent from Barstow, California. It's the home of Aaron Sanchez. I saw Aaron's mom and dad, and his mom said, yeah, we got 850 people coming, and they're all going to be dressed in Blue Jays gear.
Sanchez jerseys?
Should be fun. Cole Calhoun pulls it to second base, and Cliff Pennington throws him out. One down here in the 4th. So Mike Trout walked in his first at bat. He's the only base runner to reach against David Price. Price misses with the first pitch outside. Interesting with Donaldson and Trout in this game tonight. They're obviously considered as the top two candidates for the American League MVP race. And Trout has led the league in runs scored the last 3 seasons. Currently, Josh Donaldson leads in that department. It's interesting because no one has ever led either league for 4 straight seasons in runs scored. But Donaldson has scored a run here tonight. He has now scored 90 runs. Trout beginning play tonight, 79 runs scored. 2 great players, and Joe, it's hard to compare them because they play 2 different positions, but offensively they're very close.
They are neck and neck, and you look at the numbers, they are just side by each with all of them all the way across the board, and you see that OPS a little bit higher for Trout. Might walk a little bit more than Donaldson, but wow, 2 tremendous offensive players. See those numbers right there. Look at the batting average, right neck and neck. The OPS is the one that stands out a little bit in favor of Mike Trout. Of course, the home runs, RBIs are of course in favor of Donaldson. He's got a much better lineup that he's hitting in, more runners on base, runners in scoring position. They're both clutch.
That's what's interesting. They're both hitting .350 with runners in scoring position, and everybody in the world is putting together game plans on how to get him out. And they're still hitting .350.
One thing Mike Trout has always done since he first came up, he really stays inside the baseball well. He's got tremendous strength, so his swing path is so good. He'll just hit absolute missiles to right center. The other night he hit one right off the scoreboard. It looked like he was going to be a line drive in the gap. It went off the board in right center field.
2-2 fouled into the seats.
Kind of like that. That's his approach. He tries to let the ball get deep. As a hitter, when you allow the ball to travel and get deep, 2 things. Number 1, you're going to see it longer. Number 2, you're going to see it better. You're going to pick up the rotation on the baseball. Now at 2 strikes, you can be late like he just was. But this is also David Price on the mound. But this approach in general for Mike Trout has been very successful. Very tough to get by him.
Boy, he took a shot upstairs. That looked like strike 3. David Price a couple of steps in toward home plate without saying much. Body language speaks volumes.
You see this pitch and look like the cutter from Price at 92 miles per hour. Again, you see where Russell Martin's setting up on the outer part of the plate, just tries to bring it back a bit. He wants that ball down a hair, but it looked like it may have caught the top of the strike zone. Going out there again.
Ground ball. Pennington dives. You have to hurry. What a play by Cliff Pennington. Mike Trout, one of the fastest base runners in all of baseball. Pennington, popped to his feet very quickly.
Well, this is another reason why Alex Anthopoulos picked up a player like Pennington. A great first step here at second base. And this is, again, when you've got a guy like Trout in the batter's box, Pennington knows as soon as he gloves this baseball, he has to hurry. He doesn't set his feet. He throws off balance. But he threw a strike to Smokey. And look at David Price. Is he into the ball game? Thank you very much, Cliff.
Well, and it doesn't hurt to have big Justin Smoke over there with the big long stretch. Defense has dramatically improved for the Blue Jays over last season. This is Albert Pujols with 2 outs.
There's one thing you can say about all the moves that Alex Anthopoulos made before that trade deadline. He put a premium on defense. Tulowitzki at shortstop, of course. Ben Revere is a nice pickup in left field, and of course the pitching speaks for itself.
1-0 to Pujols. Bouncing ball, easy play for Donaldson. Takes his time. David Price, 3 up, 3 down in the 4th. Got a little help from his defense at second. Cliff Pennington with a nice play. Now it's time for a Blue Jays Central update. Here's Hazel May and Greg Zorn.
in a row over the New York Yankees, and they've got a good pitcher on the mound in Salazar. Going up against the Yankees' young rookie, Severino. The game can be seen on Sportsnet at 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 Pacific. And with these games out on the West Coast, Buck, Blue Jay fans are seeing what the Yankees do before the Jays even take the field.
Well, and the players are seeing that too, Barry. You see the updated standings. The Blue Jays gained a half a game with the Yankees losing to Cleveland. Baltimore lost as well 4-3 to Minnesota, so they remain 5 back of New York. Tampa Bay 7 back, just a game under 500. Encarnacion goes after the first pitch and pops it up down the third base side. Caleb Cowart makes the catch. 1 pitch, 1 out here in the 5th.
The 2015 Honda Civic is Canada's best-selling car for 17 years in a row and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
The Honda Center just beyond center field here, across the highway, home of the hockey team. The Anaheim Ducks right here in Southern California. Justin Smoke, the first baseman, has gone 0 for 2 so far. There have only been 3 hits in the game. Ben Revere has 2 of those hits. Donaldson the other. Inside. Ball and a strike to Smoke. Yeah, the Blue Jays really have put a premium on defense, and Smoke adds a lot when he's in there. He's a guy that gets overlooked. You look at his batting average, and first base thought to be an offensive position, but boy, there's a lot of balls handled by the first baseman.
Oh, we just talked last inning about the moves Alex Anthopoulos made, really putting a premium on defense with Troy Tulowitzki shoring up that defense in left field with Ben Revere.
This ball is driven deep to left field. Victorino on the run and runs it down. Oh, he takes away extra bases from Justin Smoke. Smoke batting left-handed for the first time, drilled it. It looked like it was going to get over Victorino's head, but he ran it down.
Smoke was right on this pitch. You cannot hit it any better. It's a big outfield here at Angel Stadium. Victorino, pretty good route to that baseball, catching it on the run. He knew exactly where he was. We talk about the offense, not necessarily. Justin can run into a ball once in a while, and that's fine, but the defense he has provided at first base is just off the charts, and he had to sit for a while. Remember when Jose Bautista had that bad shoulder for about a month? He was the odd man out.
And he was really swinging the bat well at that time. Russell Martin swings the bat well on the first pitch here and drills it to center. Martin's been on base all 3 times tonight. A walk, reached on an error, and now he is single.
That's good to see Russell using the middle of the field right there. Again, this is something that he has to do, trying to get out of this little rut that he's in. When you think middle of the field, it really keeps your head in. It keeps that front shoulder, front hip in, and allows you to keep that bat through the hitting zone longer instead of pulling off, which is usually the #1 thing hitters are doing when they're in a bit of a rut.
Kevin Pillar, the center fielder, bats with 2 outs. He takes a strike. Pillar grew up in the San Fernando Valley, about 45 minutes north of this ballpark, and played college ball at Cal State Dominguez Hills, not far from here. It's a foul. So Pillar's got a lot of family and friends here, and as we mentioned last year, he was demoted just before the Blue Jays were headed out west to play the Angels. He was very disappointed. You remember that he objected to be pinch hit for, and John Gibbons sent him back to the minor leagues. And he talked about that car trip down to Buffalo. He and his father drove down to Buffalo after getting the news he was being sent back to the minors. That was the longest trip of my life.
Lesson learned.
He learned it very well, didn't he?
He sure did. And he has come up this year and made a very big impact in this Blue Jays outfield, out in center field. He came to spring training really fighting for a job.
Broken bat dribbler to third. Coward has it, throws on the run in time. The inning is over. Russell Martin gets a 2-out base hit. Blue Jays leave another base runner. They have stranded 6. They lead it 4-0. David Price has been dialed in. Only one Angel has reached against Price so far, and that was a walk. You're running 3-0.
Live or on demand in True HD. Real-time highlights, live look-ins, pitch track and widging, and so much more. MLB.TV Premium also includes an At-Bat 15 subscription. Watch baseball at home, at the office, or on the go. Season subscription packages are available. Visit BlueJays.com for more details. Buck?
Thank you very much, Barry. And, of course, you want to make sure you get that MLB TV Premium for the rest of the season, because there are going to be some great pennant races going on. And the Blue Jays are in one. C.J. Cron drives it to right. Bautista's on the run. It's over his head. Off the wall. Cron gets the first hit for the Angels. Just the second base runner. He gets it on the first pitch here in the 5th. Bautista trying to run it down, but it carried over his glove up against the wall in right.
A good piece of hitting by Cron. This ball came back towards the inner half of the plate, but he stayed inside it very well. Drove that ball hard to right field. Bautista unable to get it. He knows that Cron's not going to go much further than second. Russell Martin goes out and has a little trip to the mound and discusses with David. The hit is out of the way. Now let's go to town. Let's go to get to business here.
That snaps a streak of 10 straight retired by David Price, and you can bet everybody knew what was going on. They didn't have a base hit yet. They only had one base runner. That was a 2-out walk to Mike Trout. Sarek Ibar, he's a free swinger. Switch hitter batting right in. He flied out to center field on the first pitch he saw back in the second. He bunts this one foul. Trying to push it up the first baseline. Ibar's always been a terrific bunter, and in this situation, it's only a 4-0 ball game.
That's not a bad idea at all by Ibar. He's not sacrificing there. He's trying to bunt for a base hit. He knows these Angels need some more base runners.
The Angels are 8-11 in August. It's significant because Mike Scioscia's team hasn't had a sub-500 month since July of 2013. Changeup missed up and away. 1-1 to Ibar. David Price trying to snap a personal 3-game losing streak, pitching in this ballpark in Anaheim. The 3 games spanned the last 3 seasons. Bouncing ball, big hop for Pennington. Ibar's retired. Cron goes to third. Chris Iannetta, the catcher, flied out to right field. Iannetta had a good series against the Blue Jays in Toronto earlier in the season. Iannetta went 5 for 11 with a home run and 3 RBIs in that 4-game series against the Jays in May.
Veteran Eric Ibar moving that runner over for Iannetta. He's got a chance to put the Angels on the board. That's what a good veteran will do, despite the score being 4-0. Still trying to move that runner over, but also trying to get a base hit that way. But he gets his job done and trying to get his team on the scoreboard. This is a team that's been struggling to score runs offensively.
They haven't been able to put up many runs lately, and it's been reflected in their record, especially on the road. Off the end of the bat. That's a fair ball. Past Smoke down the right field line. Cone comes in to score. Iannetta's headed for second. And that ball was cued right off the end of the bat. Looked like it might have been another changeup. So 2 doubles here this inning. One a shot, the other cued off the end of the bat.
That's just a tough break as a pitcher. You make a pretty good pitch here. Price did. Down in the zone, and he clearly got it off the end of the bat. Iannetta had no idea even where the baseball went at first. You see he's looking up, looking over to the left side, looking up, thought he popped it up to the right. And I think even when Justin Smoke went for this baseball, he probably thought it was a foul ball, the way he went after it.
So the Angels are on the board. It's a 4-1 ball game. Brian Jackson called out on strikes his first time up. Price comes right back and jumps ahead with a good fastball.
Price really dominated the bottom 2 hitters in this Angels lineup first time through, Ryan Jackson and then Caleb Coward. I expect him to do the same right here. A lot of fastballs, just trying to overpower again.
You're right. Another fastball. He blows it by Jackson.
There's no need to change right now either. Russell Martin behind the dish. He sees that swing from Jackson. He knows the ball is being blown by him. Don't change a thing. If anything, you may want to try to elevate that fastball, but you stay with the heater.
0-2. Don't try to get tricky. He strikes him out. Just comes right at him with that good fastball.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. That's just a very good fastball from David Price. But when you see the swings from the hitters, that's what the catcher is doing too. And you can tell back there behind the plate, he's just late on each one of those swings. He did it the same thing in his first at bat. No need to fool around. Stay with that fastball.
That's the old adage, trust what your eyes tell you. He didn't have a chance to hit it, and it didn't make any difference if he knew it was coming. 2 down now for Caleb Coward. He struck out in the 3rd. He fouls it back, and you can bet he's going to get a dose of those fastballs as well.
And that's where a catcher maybe with less experience, or a pitcher maybe not with so much experience as a David Price, they may get cued. You mentioned it, a 0-2 count, maybe mix in a curveball and mix in a changeup, and you try to bounce it, but then you don't bounce it. Well, now you're doing that hitter a big favor because you've taken a little off of that fastball for him. Instead, you just went right after him.
This is popped up. Smoke over near the seats. He is there, leans in and makes the catch. Good play by Justin Smoke. He got right to the wall and was able to lean in over the camera well. Made the catch. The Angels score on a couple of doubles. But David Price leaves after 5, leading it 4-1.
updates, batter hit zone charts, and real-time win percentage live during every MLB game. You can access it by clicking on any game matchup on the Sportsnet.ca live tracker or the Sportsnet app during the game. Buck?
Thank you very much, Barry. Great way to follow all the action around baseball, and especially handy here in the West Coast when all those games are winding down back east. In case you just joined us, the Cleveland Indians beat the Yankees tonight in New York 7-3. Minnesota beat Baltimore in Baltimore 4-3. Tampa Bay is in Oakland. They are holding a 1-0 lead over the A's in the 6th. And don't forget about the Texas Rangers. They beat the Tigers 2-0. Colby Lewis tonight on the mound for Texas. Blue Jays will be headed down to Arlington, take on the Rangers starting Tuesday night. Ben Revere has had his best night so far. 2 hits. There's the wild card standings, and the Blue Jays have a 3-game cushion over the Angels, and then Texas, Baltimore, Minnesota. There's another base hit for Revere. That's 3 hits now. This is extra bases. He's thinking about 3. He'll stop at second as Calhoun got the ball back in quickly. Ben Revere, his best night as a Blue Jay by far.
Well, John Gibbons had talked about both Troy Tulowitzki and Ben Revere, 2 players acquired at the trade deadline. It's been a little sluggish offensively, but these guys have proven track record. You know it's going to come. Ben Revere slowly heating up. His 3rd hit of the ball game. Snuck it just inside that first base bag.
Revere 3 for 3 tonight. And this is a young man that led the National League in hits last year with 184.
That's a track record for me.
So now the number 9 hitter, Cliff Pennington, he too is a switch hitter. So he bats left-handed, squares to bunt, bunts it up the third baseline. It's a beauty. Salas gets it, throws it just in time. Nice play by the pitcher to throw out Pennington at first. A terrific bunt that moves the runner Ben Revere from second to third. John Gibbons looking at the bench coach DeMarlo Hale to see if they should challenge that, and I think they're going to have a look. Nope. He said wave it off. We get confirmation of the call. So Pennington perfectly executes the sacrifice bunt.
Well, he squares it down. He puts it down that third baseline perfectly. I thought it looked like the third baseman Cowart was going to come field this. Salas, the pitcher, called him off. Tough play for the pitcher. He's got to stop, pick up the baseball, put on the brakes, and really get that weight on the back leg and fire a strike. And see what the baseball is doing into the runner. Tough play for the second baseman, Ryan Jackson.
Well, Salas made a good play. He is out of the ball game. There's going to be Trevor Gott, the young right-hander, coming into the ball game. Gott will face the top of the order with 1 out and a man at third. Troy Tulowitzki getting the scouting report from Brooke Jacoby. Trevor Gott, a young right-hander. He came along with Houston Street from San Diego last July in that July trade deadline period.
28 games at ERA at 1.82. He's a hard thrower. He'll be up averaging up 96, 97 miles per hour. Curveball and changeup. We see a lot of fastballs from this young man. He worked 1 2/3 scoreless innings Wednesday night, his first outing of the homestand. He's not allowed to run in 23 of his 28 appearances this season for the Angels.
Originally signed and drafted by San Diego in the 6th round of the 2013 draft. Troy Tulowitzki will face Gott. The infield has come in, trying to save a run here. We're in the 6th. Ben Revere's at third base. He has already scored a run tonight. There's the infield right at the edge of the grass. Tulowitzki goes after that first fastball, and it was a good one.
95 miles per hour, and he'll throw a lot of fastballs. It'll be interesting to see how much he challenges Tulowitzki in this situation. As soon as you bring the infield in as a catcher calling the game, you're thinking hard in. You want to throw those fastballs, try to get it in on the hands of the batter so they cannot get those arms extended and get the barrel out to drive it to the outfield.
Inside, they appeal to Laz Diaz. He says no swing. Tulowitzki's the only Blue Jay that has had any at-bats against Trevor Gott. He's only seen him once before. He's 0 for 1. But it looks like you better get it ready.
It's coming hard, and that one had a lot of movement running in on the hands of Tulowitzki.
Look at it. Breaking ball. That hit him. So Gott threw that breaking ball and hit Tulowitzki. So that'll put runners at first and third for Josh Donaldson. You know what that tells me if I'm Donaldson? Look for a first pitch fastball.
Can't control the breaking ball.
And breaking ball gets away, and Tulowitzki gets hit by a pitch. Not Donaldson, who has walked, grounded out, and had an RBI double.
And there he is. He's got the Ducks on the pond again. They get Blue Jays at the corners here. 92 RBIs on the season. Josh Donaldson looking to add on against the youngster Trevor Gott.
Bautista's right there in the 4th spot. There's that fastball, but it misses.
And the game plan does not change here with runners on first and third. You still want to pound that fastball in and try to get a ground ball off the bat of Donaldson. Try to get that inning-ending double play if you're Gott on the mound.
Fly ball to the outfield. Revere's back to tag out. Victorino over in the alley. He has no chance to make a throw. Donaldson pads his lead with another RBI. That's 93 for Donaldson. Ben Revere scores for a second time tonight.
This is a major league run producer, what Josh Donaldson did right here. Talked about the youngster Trevor Gott, what he's going to do. 95, 96 miles per hour with that fastball. He tries to get it in on his hands, but watch Josh Donaldson pull the hands in. He pulled those hands in so that he could get just enough barrel to the baseball. A lot of people, this is a broken bat, maybe a double play. Donaldson pulls the hands in to get the barrel to the ball, hits it just far enough to score that run.
Terrific at bat from Donaldson. Now is a Bautista, and the ball's past Iannetta all the way back to the screen. Tulowitzki moves into scoring position for Bautista on the wild pitch. Bautista takes the fastball away. Ball runs back over the outside corner. Hector Santiago started, and he had a tough outing. Gave up 3 runs in the first on 4 walks in the air and 1 base hit. He was out with 1 out in the 4th. Three and 1 to Bautista.
I think Hector Santiago's night was really done in the first inning. When you walk 4 Blue Jays, and including one in from third with Russell Martin, the bases loaded walk, you just can't do that against any major league team, but especially when your opponent has David Price on the mound.
Swinging a drive to right. Calhoun back at the track. He's got room, makes the catch. Bautista gave it around. But the Blue Jays get the run back. Josh Donaldson with a man at third, less than 2 outs, drives it to left field. He picks up his second RBI of the night. The Blue Jays have a 5-1 lead.
Canada enjoying the Blue Jays game, and you can enjoy a number of Blue Jays games next month. Hard to believe we're almost in September, but the Orioles, Red Sox, Yankees, and Rays, yes, all 4 Eastern Division opponents are going to be at Rogers Center beginning September 4th through 6th. Go to BlueJays.com for tickets. Buck?
Stombo enjoying a little baseball action here in Anaheim, having a good night away from the scene of hockey for the time being. But you're right, Barry. September is just around the corner, and this baseball is going to heat up, Joe.
Happens fast, doesn't it?
Wow. Shane Victorino takes one up and away. It's ball 2. The Blue Jays starters coming into this game 17-4 since the All-Star break. This is the 31st game since the All-Star break. Blue Jays have the best record in baseball at 21-9. Played themselves right back into pennant contention. The pitching has had a lot to do with it, Joe.
Pitching has been absolutely outstanding, and you know, it all started when Aaron Sanchez came off the disabled list. And when he came off, the Blue Jays inserted him down to that bullpen. At the time, it was much needed help. They were really struggling down there. Aaron's, of course, been outstanding. And then, of course, that trade deadline approached. You added David Price after Tulowitzki and Ben Revere. And LaTroy Hawkins, don't forget, was a nice veteran presence in that Tulowitzki deal. That was nice. And then Mark Lowe, how about him? One of the best in the American League. But David Price has been simply outstanding, one of the best in the game.
Tulowitzki dives and can't make the play as Victorino has a leadoff single here in the 6th.
Save during Canada's Color Expert Sale, only at Home Hardware and Building Center locations. Homeowners helping homeowners with expert advice.
Beautiful shot of Anaheim Stadium on a gorgeous night here. David Price trying to snap a personal 3-game losing streak in this ballpark.
Price is very animated on the mound. Once in a while, he'll step off the back. Sometimes you'll see him just like that on the pitching rubber. Just take a deep breath, refresh, reboot.
Blows one right by Cole Calhoun. Calhoun's had a terrific season, a career high 18 home runs and 65 RBIs, both career highs. Well, you know, the Angels, we talk about Howie Kendrick, they really missed his presence in this lineup all year long.
Well, you sure do, and especially when you're looking at that second base position right now, and you've got the youngster Ryan Jackson trying to fill in. It just does not work.
Price paints that outside corner. Howie Kendrick led the Angels in hitting last year at 293.
You don't think they could use that bat in the lineup right now?
That's good balance, too. Another guy that uses the whole field.
Well, you don't want to get to a situation where teams are basically avoiding two guys in your lineup, and that's Trout and Pujols. Of course, Cole Calhoun also having a career year, but we've seen tonight it gets pretty thin in that bottom half.
Calhoun stays alive, gets a piece of that. And that's the difference we talked about earlier in this game. When you look at the Blue Jays lineup 1 through 9, Mike Scioscia is really challenged trying to figure out where the heck he's going to get some outs.
They will have their struggles, and you do hit dry spells as a lineup all the way through. But boy, I tell you what, throughout the course of this season, 1 through 9, there's been weapons, and we've talked about that bottom half of that Blue Jays lineup has really contributed in many ways throughout the course of this season.
Well, tonight, Ben Revere really hadn't done a whole lot for the offense, but gets 3 hits tonight, scores 2 runs. Pennington gets the start. He had the sac bunt that led to the sacrifice fly for Donaldson. So all of these pieces starting to come together. Cliff Pennington made a terrific defensive play, taking a hit away from Mike Trout in the 4th. Base hit up the middle. Calhoun had a tough at bat. He hung in and fouled off a couple of tough pitches and works Price for the single. Back-to-back singles. Now you got to deal with Trout and Pujols.
Really nice job by Calhoun. See how short he stays. This is a tough at bat against a left-handed pitcher, but very short, not much of a stride. It's just a little 2-strike approach, just almost flexing that knee, picking up that toe and putting it right back down. That allows you to be short with your swing path. That's what you have to do against the David Price, hitting up 97-mile-per-hour fastball right back up the middle.
So now this is Mike Trout. He has walked in, was robbed of a hit by Pennington, as we mentioned. 0 for 1. Going to be interesting to see how Price works Trout in this at bat. They worked him down and away earlier. Thought they struck him out on a high cutter. Now they might try to pitch him upstairs. He's a good low ball hitter.
He will chase upstairs, and I think that's the book on him, and we'll see if Russell does that. Now, I still see him going away with those cutters and the 4-seamers, but let's not forget about that changeup. This could be a real good time to break out a couple of changeups.
Boy, Powder River, 97, one of his best fastballs of the night.
And look at the location, though. That's the biggest thing. When you're throwing 97, you leave it out there.
They got 3 of the top 5 home run hitters in the ballpark tonight. Trout and Pujols back-to-back. And, of course, Donaldson with 33. This is a star-laden series. Strike 3 called. They came upstairs. Look at that pitch, top of the strike zone, and Trout's asking Jeff Nelson about that last call. Boy, David Price, you talk about a profile of an ace. Make a great pitch to a great hitter.
And that looked to me like Mike Trout may have been thinking about something else. He knows he's got the changeup in his back pocket, but look at this fastball. It just freezes Trout by the time that ball gets in there, and a nice job by Russell Martin holding on to that pitch. You just cannot pull the trigger, and Trout was just frozen.
Yeah, Trout got beat by that pitch. That ball was by him before he was in position to swing it. Not out of the woods yet. Albert Pujols. There's a curveball we're seeing for the first time tonight.
Breaking that one out too, and this is what I mean about all the weapons David Price has. I've talked so much about the fastball away to right and the cutter that he'll backdoor. And, of course, the changeup has been an outstanding pitch for David the last few years. But then he breaks out another weapon. That's almost just a show pitch right there to Pujols. See if he comes back hard with the fastball.
Pujols homered twice in a game last May here in Anaheim against Price. Two of the best going head to head.
It's tremendous location, though. If you're going to be 95 to 97 miles per hour and you're catching that outside corner at the knees, those are unhittable pitches. But David will continue to pound out there.
Took a little off, finds the outside corner. Boy, he can pitch. You know, you talk about raw talent, and he's got that. But he's got a feel for pitching as well.
I think that's what he's really grown into as a big league pitcher. And he's an all-star through and through, but he's continued to develop. We talked about that changeup usage.
High fly ball to right. Bautista near the line. Makes the catch. Victorino tags and advances over to third, but now there are 2 outs. Price kept Pujols in a big part of the field. Gets him to fly out to right.
That's the other thing you want to do with these big hitters. Trout and Pujols are coming up with runners on you. Stay away from these right-handed batters. What you're forcing them to do is use that big part of the ballpark. Make them hit the ball to center where it's over 400 feet or to right center. Big power hitters generally can hit further on your pull side.
C.J. Cron led off the 5th with a double over Bautista's head in right. That was the first hit for the Angels. Cron hit his first 2 major league home runs against the Blue Jays last May at Rogers Center. Jay Happ and Steve Delabar gave up the 2 home runs to Cron in that series in early May last year. Jose Alvarez, the left-hander, loosening up for the Angels, and they look like they're about ready to go 3 deep into their bullpen in the first game of this 3-game series.
It's good news for Blue Jays hitters. That's what you like to see in game 1 of a series. 2 big games still on tap.
Back-to-back changeups. He is so unpredictable.
That's the thing. He's so unpredictable. He's got so many weapons. We talked about that, especially that high velocity. But the cutter, we've seen him mix in the curveball. And again, to Albert Pujols, that was just a show pitch. Change the speed and then come back with the harder stuff.
Through another changeup. 3 changeups in a row, and you've got to have a pretty good changeup to throw 3 in a row to a big league hitter.
He left that one up in the zone a little bit, not where Russell Martin wants it. Now I'm going to say after 3 changeups, I got to believe we're going to see the express right here, probably about 97. Going away with it.
No chance, Joe. 97 it is.
That's not fair.
Down and away for the strikeout. David Price strikes out C.J. Cron to strand a pair of base runners here in the 6th. They knock on the door, but David Price won't let anybody answer. copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership. We go to the top of the seventh. New pitcher into the ball game will be the left-hander Jose Alvarez. He'll be the fourth pitcher to work for the Angels here tonight.
Alvarez working in his 44th game of the season. That ERA at 3.4. 47 strikeouts in his 53 innings of work. He's held opponents to just a .216 average. He worked an inning and two-thirds scoreless last night in his first appearance of this homestand for the Angels.
Angels finished up a 4-game series with the White Sox. They won 3 of those 4 games. Edwin Encarnacion still hitless tonight, trying to extend his hit streak to 17 straight. Let's pop right back up in our direction. I get ahead of Encarnacion 0-2. Alvarez in relief of Trevor Gott, who worked 2/3 of an inning. He had a hit batter and gave up a sacrifice fly to Donaldson. Off speed pitched. Tapped foul.
Alvarez will average around 90 miles per hour with the fastball, curveball, slider, and changeup. He's a 4-pitch pitcher. Normally when you see that out of a pitcher out of the bullpen, they're usually have some history as a starter. Alvarez started 6 games for the Tigers back in 2013.
This is popped up right side of the field. Second baseman Jackson overruns it. Oh man, this has been a tough night for the Angels defensively. It's a base hit for Encarnacion. That extends his streak. Yeah, he'll take it. But he got some help from the Angels in the field, and they have had a sloppy night.
So, Buck, what do you do when you're Mike Scioscia standing in that third base dugout right about now?
Well, you know what? They've had some turnover here. Jerry Dipoto stepped down as the general manager, and Mike Scioscia, he's got a long-term contract, but they've got to get this thing sorted out. And defense has always been something Mike Scioscia takes a lot of pride in. They've won championships based on pitching and defense. This ball is drilled by Justin Smoak, high and deep and gone. Justin Smoak hammered a ball back in the 5th. And Victorino ran it down for Smoak. That's his 12th home run. That'll give him 41 RBIs for the season. And a little more breathing room for the Blue Jays.
Well, we talked about it earlier in the broadcast. Justin Smoak, and of course the defense that he provides when he is in the lineup. This team is very successful, and there's no secret to that. But Justin Smoak ran into this one, hit a ball hard earlier in the evening, back in the 5th inning, sending Victorino way deep to left. But he just jumped on a first pitch fastball from Jose Alvarez coming in out of that Angels bullpen, and he did not make a mistake.
For Smoak, that's his 4th home run off of lefty pitching. He has now driven in 10, batting as a right-hander, and this is a beautiful swing.
Well, Alvarez trying to come inside. You could see catcher Chris Iannetta trying to get in there, tie up the big guy. Did not get the pitch in there, left it out over the plate, and Justin barreled it up.
7-1 Blue Jays.
We just finished talking about David Price and how he got out of that inning by executing pitches. Of course, he's got great stuff, but he locates the baseball. When pitchers miss their spots, that's when you're in trouble.
Russell Martin. Take a look at this swing. Boy, that's great extension, and Smoke now getting a little bit more playing time, starting to come up with big hits. He was robbed in the 5th, as we mentioned, by Shane Victorino.
You see that swing by Smoke. You start playing a little bit more. The timing is there. You start feeling more comfortable. You're seeing the baseball better. Very short stride by Smoke, and he just allows his hands to work. He's seen a lot of pitchers really try to attack him inside with the fastball. When he gets that over and over again, he starts speeding up in there, and that's not the right approach. That time he was able to sit back.
Russell Martin hits it on one hop. Ibar throws him out. That's the first out of the inning. The home run by Smoke came on the first pitch of his at bat. That's the 29th first pitch home run for the Blue Jays this season. That leads the American League.
And how about making that team pay? Mike Scioscia, we talked about him standing over in that third base dugout. Another misplay by the Angels defense, and you just cannot do this against this Blue Jays lineup. It's not just 1, 2, 3, 4. Justin Smoke did the damage there.
There are so many bats in this lineup that you can't really shut down the Blue Jays by just focusing on 2 or 3 spots in the order. Kevin Pillar a little anxious tonight. He's chased a couple borderline pitches.
We talked earlier in the season too how Brooke Jacoby, the hitting coach, and his assistant Eric Owens, they talked to Kevin Pillar, Devin Travis, Dalton Pompey early in the season about the bottom of this order. Have good at bats. Turn the lineup over to the big boys. Certainly done that.
Pillar hits this one hard, but it hooks into the seats.
Some of the names have changed, but the philosophy does not change. And tonight we've seen a pretty good job, especially from Ben Revere, having one of his better offensive nights in a Blue Jays uniform.
Inside. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Kevin Pillar. 1 out here in the 7th. Blue Jays have spread out their offense a little more effectively tonight. They scored 3 in the 1st, 1 in the 4th, 1 in the 6th, and now 2 here in the 7th. They had been in a rut of scoring in just 1 inning over that last homestand. It had been a problem, but tonight's a different story. Off-speed pitch. Pillar strikes out.
The 2015 Honda Civic is Canada's best-selling car for 17 years in a row and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Ben Revere has had a big night at the plate. He's 3 for 3 with 2 runs scored. A couple of doubles, excuse me, a couple of singles and a double. The breaking ball catches the inside corner. Tonight is the 12th time that he's had 3 or more hits in the game. He's had 1 4-hit game. His 4-hit game came back in May in his hometown Atlanta against the Braves. He went 4 for 5 with 3 doubles in that game. Alvarez thought that was strike 3. He was headed toward the dugout.
Well, Revere's a high contact guy. He puts the ball in play, kind of slashes it, and then uses his speed, and he just hasn't been able to do that a whole lot just yet in the Blue Jays uniform. But I think we're slowly starting to see him come along, and he can be a real asset at the bottom of the order and, of course, out in left field.
Waited back on that breaking ball, but fouls it over the screen out of play. Blue Jays and the Angels split their 4-game series in Toronto back in May. Blue Jays won the opener, and Roberto Osuna picked up his first major league win in relief. They won that one 10-6. The Angels won the middle two games, and R.A. Dickey had a complete game victory in game 4. This time it's strike 3. Ben Revere caught looking at strike 3, but the Blue Jays scored 2 more runs here in the 7th. Encarnacion's on base for Justin Smoke. He goes deep as a right-handed hitter with Smoke in the lineup. The Blue Jays are 31-19 when he starts at first base.
Begins Friday, September 4th at 7:07, then a couple of afternoon games Saturday and Sunday. 1:07 starts. Go to BlueJays.com for tickets and do it fast. They're going quickly.
It's going to be a great month of September to see some fabulous baseball, as the AL East will be up for grabs. Yankees, Red Sox, Tampa Bay, Orioles all coming to Rogers Center in September. Ball and strike to Eric Aybar. Aybar's gone 0 for 2. He's batting in the 6th spot tonight. Ground ball up the middle. Tulowitzki can't make the play. Sneaks under his glove. A leadoff single for Aybar here in the 7th. Tulowitzki just barely got a glove on it, but couldn't make the play. It's a base hit for Aybar. Chris Iannetta had an RBI double back in the 5th. He cued the ball right off the end of the bat. Joe, what I've noticed about David Price, he doesn't lose much late into the game with that fastball.
Velocity is still there, and he's still locating. See that pitch right there? Nice job by Russell Martin again receiving it. But talk about the weapons he has, but he could still get it up there pretty good late in the ball game.
What a pitch.
Those are 2 pitches, though, right there. They're tremendous pitches by David Price, but I have to credit Russell Martin with the way he received both of those pitches. Some catchers, the count's 2-0 right now. That's how much you put in, that's how much stock you put into a catcher receiving the baseball. Tremendous job on both those pitches by Russell Martin. Not easy to do either when those balls are up there in the 96-mile-per-hour range.
Well, Russell's had a big impact on his starting pitching staff. Well, he's had an impact on the entire pitching staff. Last year, the Blue Jays ranked 9th in the American League in pitching overall. This year, they're 6th. There's been a dramatic improvement in the individual pitching. Starters are ranked 5th in the American League now. Last year, they finished 11th in the American League, and the relievers, they made a dramatic jump. They went from 12th to 4th this season. Great changeup. Iannetta strikes out.
Just an amazing job that he finishes it off with the changeup. But let's watch the catcher, Russell Martin, here receiving these first 2 pitches. Again, these are 95 and 96 mile per hour fastballs. See how he gets it? It's almost like that glove's going to go, but he holds it there. This one down at the zone, I think Russell is just the best in the game at the low pitch. He almost comes underneath that baseball. But it is true that there are some catchers in this game that David Price would be 2-0 against that batter with those same 2 pitches.
They'll sweep it right out of the strike zone because it's so hard and has so much movement.
And with a left-handed pitcher throwing it glove side inside on a righty like that, for a catcher, that's your glove side. It really does handcuff you because you've got to decide very late whether you're going to turn your hand over or keep that almost like thumb down and keeping it right there, trying to hold it on that inside corner.
Brian Jackson, the second baseman, had a tough night against Price. Struck out twice, once looking, once swinging. Price again, not only is it well located, that fastball is still 96
in the 7th inning.
I don't know if there's a better atmosphere in all of baseball than a cool evening in Anaheim for a pitcher to pitch.
Nice time of night right now.
No humidity. Temperature at the start of this game, 21 degrees. Not a breath of air, just perfect night. Price strikes out Jackson for a 3rd time tonight. That's 7 strikeouts for David Price. Let's check in with Hazel May. Boy, the Mets made some subtle moves at the trade deadline. Cespedes coming over from the Tigers, and then Kelly Johnson and Juan Uribe from Atlanta. It really improved a sputtering offense. They scored 14 runs tonight in Colorado and improved to 65 and 56. The Mets. How about the Mets? Nobody really expected them to do much. Everybody thought, well, Miami and Washington, they're going to run away with things, especially Washington. But Washington is an even 500 at the start of play tonight. Washington lost tonight at home against Milwaukee 10-3, and they fall a game under 500. So now they are a full 5 games back of the Mets in the National League East.
Well, the Mets certainly addressed a need at the deadline with Yoenis Cespedes. They needed some pop in that lineup. It was a struggling lineup. They pitched the heck out of the ball, but what an addition and what a night he's having tonight.
Big crowd on hand here on this Friday night. 41,110 in attendance. Blue Jays have been quite an attraction no matter where they go. There's the NL East standings as we speak. Washington, and there's a lot of turmoil there in Washington right now. A little uncertainty and some questions as to the leadership of that ball club. Ball is fouled off.
Well, they've certainly had to deal with the injury bug, of course, in Washington, but lots of rumors swirling now about Matt Williams' job. And isn't that interesting when you're picked to basically go to and win the World Series, and now they're fighting the Mets to try to just get to the playoffs.
They did a lot of tinkering with that team, and I thought the Jonathan Papelbon move sent the wrong message to that clubhouse. Drew Storen was doing a terrific job as their closer. They went out and brought in Papelbon. It seems like everything has gone down the tube since. Another strikeout. for David Price. He strikes out the side after the leadoff single. Price with 8 strikeouts, and the bottom 2 have struck out 5 times tonight.
You can watch it right here on Sportsnet. Marco Estrada, who's distracted with Mark Burley, looking at something behind him. He'll look for his 11th win of the season. He'll go up against Andrew Heaney. And please note, the start time of this game has been pushed from what was a 9:30 start to now a 9 o'clock Eastern start for Blue Jays Central. First pitch just after 9:30 Eastern. They're having a little celebration here at the ballpark to honor some Hall of Fame Angels. Buck?
They sure are. They're going to induct Dean Chance, Mike Witt, and Tim Salmon into the Angels Hall of Fame. So the start time will be pushed back a little bit with Pennington. Cliff's had a good night. He's had a contribution both with the glove and with the bat tonight. Pennington 0 for 2, a couple of strikeouts, but he had a sac bunt in the 6th that led to a run. He also took away a hit from Mike Trout in the 4th, and that would have been the first hit given up by David Price. Pulls it to third. Caleb Coward's been very good at third defensively. He can play the position defensively, no question about that.
I think that's exactly what Mike Scioscia is looking for right now. He just wants to catch the baseball over there. Certainly a lot of problems defensively we're still seeing again here tonight, but you sacrifice some offense. Caleb Coward, of course, overmatched at the plate in that 9-hole.
Troy Tulowitzki batting for his 5th time tonight. He is officially 0 for 3. Got hit by a pitch in the 6th. Trevor Gott, the young pitcher, came in and hit him with a breaking ball. Tulowitzki's from the Bay Area of California, Santa Clara, up near San Jose, but he went to college down here in Long Beach State. He and Marco Estrada were teammates on that Long Beach State college team. And Tulowitzki was the shortstop, and Evan Longoria was the third baseman. The Angels' big star pitcher, Jared Weaver, was a Long Beach State alum, but he was a couple of years ahead of Tulowitzki in his stride. But Long Beach State has cranked out some great major league players. Weaver had a terrific game here a couple nights ago, beat the White Sox 1-0. Only run in that game was a home run from Carlos Perez, the former Blue Jay minor league catcher. A 1-0 ball game. Tulowitzki, 2 balls and a strike. Now 3-1. There's a base hit. That's going to split the outfielders and go all the way to the wall. Tulowitzki is headed for second. And he'll get there with a stand-up double. A ringing double to the wall in left center for Tulowitzki.
Well, Troy got himself into a nice hitter's count. Alvarez falling behind 3-1. He's looking for one pitch in that situation, and he got it. Crushing that ball into the left center gap. Sometimes that's what it takes. As a struggling hitter, you need to work yourself into a good count. A lot of hitters throughout their struggles, it just seems like you're 0-2, 1-2 all the time, right when you step into the batter's box.
Fourth double for Tulowitzki with the Blue Jays, his 23rd double of the season. Josh Donaldson takes the first pitch. Cesar Ramos loosening up, and you can see the bullpen coach waving his hat. That's the universal sign that the reliever is ready.
No need to get on the phone for that one.
Yeah, that goes way back in history, doesn't it? Before the phones were put into the dugouts and bullpens, a bullpen coach, and most of the time it was the oldest pitcher down there because there was no bullpen coach.
And each pitcher had a sign. So if you were a tall, skinny guy, the tall sign. If you were a righty, of course, if you were a sidewinder, you might put your arm down. The pitching coach would be in the dugout looking down to the bullpen, and you'd have to get all your signs right. Just make sure you got the right guy up in the bullpen.
Donaldson drives it deep to left. Victorino on the run. It's off the base of the wall. Tulowitzki comes around third. Donaldson, with his second double of the night, has driven in 3 runs tonight. Closing in on 100. Troy Tulowitzki scores another run. Donaldson, 32nd double, second tonight.
Well, it looked like Josh was trying to extend the lead with his previous swing in this at-bat. He thought he may have gotten this one, but it's just such a big ballpark out here in Anaheim. And again, Alvarez leaves an 0-2 pitch up and out over the plate. You just cannot make these kinds of mistakes to the hitters like this, the caliber of a Josh Donaldson. This is an MVP candidate. He's sure showing it tonight.
He and Mike Trout going head-to-head tonight. So far, Donaldson has a comfortable lead. New pitcher Cesar Ramos coming in to face Bautista. Run differential will give you a great indication. They are first in the American League, plus 34, 10 more than the Red Sox, and you see what a disappointing month it's been for Mike Scioscia's Angels.
Well, Mike Scioscia and his Angels have just really struggled to score runs, and of course the pitching has not been as good in the month of August. The starters have not been as bad this season as a whole, but it's really been a tough month for the starters. The relievers not so bad, but when you're not scoring runs, you need to pitch really well, and that's the struggle that they've been fighting.
This is Cesar Ramos. He is now 31 years old. He grew up in L.A. We mentioned Weaver, Tulowitzki, and Estrada all playing in Long Beach State. Same for Cesar Ramos. He was a teammate of Tulowitzki's and Estrada's. Ramos came here in a deal last November from Tampa Bay. He's got time in the majors with the San Diego Padres as well. Spent parts of 4 seasons with the Tampa Bay Rays. Blue Jays know a lot about Cesar Ramos. They saw him a lot while he was pitching for Tampa Bay. Bautista 1 for 5 against Ramos, but that one hit was a home run. And curveball, and Bautista strikes out. 2 down now for Edwin Encarnacion. He extended his hit streak to 17 straight his last time up. So pop up to shallow right field, then second baseman Ryan Jackson just overran it, but it was a base hit all the way. Edwin's been on base twice with a walk and a single. He's scored both times. Aaron Sanchez warming up for the Blue Jays. Jays have an 8-1 lead. Encarnacion goes around. A high fly ball to left. Victorino's got room. Backing up almost to the warning track. He hauls it in. The inning is over, but the Blue Jays add a run in the 8th. They take an 8-1 lead as we head to the bottom of the 8th. Now time for a Blue Jays Central update. Here's Hazel May and Greg Zong.
And on Friday, September 4th, it is our Blue Jays Grand Slam combo night. Your combo includes a ticket to the game, hot dog, nachos, popcorn, peanuts, apple, and a soft drink. Tickets start at just $45. Go to BlueJays.com for more details. Buck?
Thank you very much. It's always a great time at the old ballpark, so you can see the Orioles and have a Grand Slam combo all on the same night. David Price starts the 8th inning. Shane Victorino singled against Price in the 6th. But he's still wearing out that outside corner.
He continues the same approach to these right-handed batters. We've seen him do it in his previous 3 starts in a Blue Jays uniform. He did it to the Twins and did it twice in those 2 starts against the Yankees.
Comes back with a changeup in a great spot.
And he'll generally try to backdoor that cutter to the right-handers as well. Started off the plate away and have it come back in. Russell set it up out there again.
This is cued off the end of the bat. That's going to get into the Blue Jays dugout. Bounced on the rail and bounced back onto the field. David Price is pitching on a full 6 days rest. He last pitched against the Yankees last Friday in Toronto. So he has had extra rest, and he certainly shows that he is strong late into this game. This next pitch will be pitch number 98. Bautista comes in a couple of steps. Victorino's retired. Price has held the Angels to a run on 5 hits. This is the 4th start for David Price since joining the Blue Jays. He was in line for a win his last time out. He left the ball game with a 3-1 lead after 7 1/3. And Sanchez came in and ultimately gave up a 3-run pinch hit home run to Carlos Beltran. The Yankees won that game. There's a deep drive to center field. Cole Calhoun has just hit his 19th home run of the season. His 2nd hit of the night off Price. He continues to build on his career high in homers. He had a great at bat against Price back in the 6th and worked it for a single.
Price will throw the changeup to both right and left-handed hitters, and it looked like a changeup to Calhoun, and he just left it out over the plate. Calhoun, we talked about it earlier, such a short swing with that little leg kick. It's almost as though he picks up his heel and puts it down, allowing him to be short to the baseball. Tremendous power getting up over that double wall in right center field.
That wall is 18 feet high in right center, and he hit it into the seats. His 19th home run, 66th RBI. Mike Trout 0 for 2 with a walk tonight. Lots of young fans here, of course, idolize Mike Trout. Of course, he's not that much older than that. He just turned 24 years old this summer. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Trout dove for a ball in the outfield a couple of weeks ago, and he tweaked his wrist a little bit. For the few games after that, he was seen after a couple of foul balls just like that one, just kind of flexing that wrist a little bit. So sometimes a little thing like that can throw you off of your game. He hasn't been as hot at the plate lately. But a great hitter like this, you know it's going to come back. Just hope it's after your team leaves town.
He's had a terrific season. 33 home runs, 72 RBIs. Same for this man here, Albert Pujols. He too has 33 home runs and 70 RBIs. Now Trout strikes out for a second time tonight. 0 for 3 for Trout. David Price now with 9 strikeouts.
Well, with the changeup again, you see Trout just getting out front, but expanding the strike zone right there. David Price using that changeup in a great way. Again, that's where you want to be with it, down in the zone.
Pujols goes after that first pitch. David Price in his first 3 starts with the Blue Jays had 24 strikeouts. That's the 3rd highest strikeout total for a starter after a mid-season trade since 1995. Randy Johnson went to Houston in '98 and had 33 strikeouts in his first 3 games. And in 2008, Rich Harden, a Canadian, went from Oakland to the Cubs, and he recorded 30 strikeouts in his first 3 games with Chicago. And David Price has added to that total tonight. Pujols out in front of that changeup. Revere gets over in the corner and makes the catch. Price 8 strong innings tonight, in line for the win. And the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Well, Justin Smoak had that drive of the game, hitting a first pitch fastball from Jose Alvarez. He had just come out of the bullpen, but he sat on that first pitch trying to get it inside. Chris Iannetta catching it in there, and he left it out over the plate. Smoak put the Blue Jays up 7-1 with that big drive to left center field.
For Smoak, that's his 12th home run of the season, his 4th as a right-handed hitter. And that home run, as Joe mentioned, came on the first pitch, as does this ground ball. Smoak's retired on 1 pitch here in the 9th. So Russell Martin will come to the plate. Russell's been on base 3 times tonight. He has walked, reached on an error, and singled. He is 1 for 3 overall. But he can certainly take a lot of satisfaction out of being behind the plate with David Price on the mound.
Well, it's one thing putting the fingers down and calling a game, but what we've really noticed tonight is a tremendous job receiving the baseball. David Price, not an easy pitcher to catch.
You would expect Diana Navarro to play tomorrow with Marco Estrada pitching. Give Russell a day game after night game off, and Navarro and Estrada have really teamed up to work very well together as a battery.
R.A. Dickey scheduled to go Sunday. John Gibbons talked about Russell today about, he used the term beat up. He's beat up, as most catchers are at this time of the season, but he's getting through it. He's not complaining about it, but he also mentioned the name Josh Thole. Now, I don't know that we may see Josh Thole as soon as Sunday, but he did say that we could see his name, I would think for sure, as a September call-up, and maybe give Russell an extra break, especially on those days Dickey pitches.
Martin lifts a fly ball to left. 2 down. Aaron Sanchez was up earlier for the Blue Jays. Now Mark Lowe has gotten up, and he might be coming in to work tonight. That would be a good move to give him some work in this 8-2 ball game. John Gibbons has some great arms down in that bullpen now, and his challenge is to keep everybody as fresh and as in tune as possible.
Nice problem to have as a manager, isn't it, when your starters are going so well that you're trying to find work for your relievers.
Well, the Blue Jays have a bunch of off days. They've had one on this trip, and they will have one more on Monday. They had one before they started the trip, so they got to make sure how they spread out the workload.
And with the exception of these last 2 starts by Burley and Dickey in Philadelphia, this rotation has been absolutely outstanding.
Kevin Pillar drills it down the left field line. That's a fair ball. Pillar is headed for second, and he'll get there with a 2-out double for Pillar. That's double number 22 on the season.
Nice job by Kevin getting down to get this pitch, keeping the hands inside the baseball, and that's how you keep that ball fair down the left field line. If you get your hands out away from you, come around that ball, those are the ones that you see hooked foul down that left field line.
Ben Revere 3 for 4 tonight. A couple of runs scored for Revere. A lot of Blue Jay fans in attendance here in Anaheim. And they even got that 1985 blue jersey, the little baby blue jersey.
Powder blue.
Well, the Blue Jays really got a break tonight. They really worked over Hector Santiago. The starter walked 4 in the first inning. He threw 48 pitches in the first inning. That top half of the first took 25 minutes. The Blue Jays scored 3 runs on 1 hit and a costly error by Shane Victorino, contributing to those 3 runs. There's a little looper. That's going to be another hit. Pillar's around third. Here's the throw from Victorino, and it's right past Iannetta. Ben Revere headed for third on the overthrow. And Pillar, with a good slide, comes in to score the 9th run, and Ben Revere has his second 4-hit game of the season.
A good hustle by Kevin Pillar. He's going on the break of the bat as soon as it's hit, and you could see the shortstop Eric Ibar, nothing he could do. He knew right away that it was over his head, but good hustle by Pillar. But look at Ben Revere stay inside this baseball. How often do we talk about keeping the hands inside the ball? What that does is allows that swing path to stay through longer. He's able to throw that ball out there. Just a tough hop for Iannetta. That ball thrown up the third base line, allowing Pillar to get by him and catching that plate with his hand. Nice little hook slide.
3 errors committed tonight by the Angels, and for Ben Revere, that's his 14th career 4-hit game. for the Blue Jays. That gives them 11 hits. It's the 48th time this season the Blue Jays have had 10 or more hits in a game. That's significant because their record in the previous 47 games, 36 and 11 when they get double-digit hits.
And that's why you cannot aid this team by walking those people that Hector Santiago did in the first inning. You just cannot issue the free passes.
Pennington gets jammed. Cowhart at third makes the throw. The inning is over, but the Blue Jays get another run in the ninth. Ben Revere with a big night. 4 hits and an RBI. He scored a couple of runs. Mark Lowe will come in to work the bottom of the ninth to try to wrap it up for David Price.
To go after the one person responsible for killing his friends. Don't miss an all-new episode Sunday, 10 o'clock Eastern and Pacific, only on FX.
We've made it to the bottom of the ninth here in Anaheim, and Mark Lowe will take over for David Price as Lowe has really fortified the depth in this Blue Jays bullpen.
Mark Lowe's been outstanding, working in his 41st game of the season tonight. 1.56 ERA, that ranks number 5 among American League relievers. 35 of his 40 outings have been scoreless. This is a big arm that Alex Anthopoulos picked up at the trade deadline to shore things up down there.
Blue Jays got off to a running start with 3 runs in the first. David Price took it from there. He leaves after 8 innings, allowing 2 runs on 6 hits and striking out 9. C.J. Cron, the first baseman, got the first hit of the game off of Price with the leadoff double in the 5th. There's that good slider from Lowe.
Lowe's fastball will be up around 95 miles per hour as well. He's got the slider to go with it. It's a nice 1-2 combination, and he'll use them both about 50-50.
No had a resurgence in his fastball velocity, and he believes it's because of an off-season workout program. He changed his workout routine and built up his core strength muscles and got the velocity back. He strikes out C.J. Cron. 1 down here in the ninth. Now for a preview of what's coming up on Sportsnet Central. Here's Jamie Thomas and Eric Thomas. That's all coming up right after this game. Of course, the Yankees lost tonight. The Blue Jays on the verge of winning, and they would move to a half game from the Yankees in the AL East. Rick Ibar, the shortstop, pulls it foul into the Blue Jays dugout. That got him moving around a little bit. Two and one to Ibar. Ibar singled in the seventh. Had a leadoff single off Price, and then David Price struck out Ionetta, Jackson, and Coward in order. Ibar waves at that pitch down and away and strikes out. Back-to-back strikeouts for Lowe.
Great location by Mark Lowe. He keeps that ball down in the zone, and he can backdoor that slider. He says 9 times out of 10 to left-handers he likes to start it away. That one he buries down in the zone. Ibar swings right over top of it. Good late sharp break to that slider.
Chris Ionetta 1 for 3 at an RBI double. He drove in the first run for the Angels. Tomorrow night, Marco Estrada will go up against the left-hander Andrew Heaney. Heaney is 5-1. Estrada 10-7. Well, that's a wipeout slider. Looks like a fastball until it gets into that hitting zone.
The rotation is so tight, it looks like a fastball coming in. It enters the hitting zone, and it just takes a turn on the hitter. That's a sharp late break. Hitters start their swing, can't hold up.
And then he paints that outside corner with some heat.
How many times have we used the word location tonight? David Price was spectacular. Now you're seeing it from Mark Lowe.
It's the most important thing in pitching. The Angels have committed 3 errors tonight. It gives them 12 errors in their last 10 games. Full count. Mark Lowe punctuates a great night for the Blue Jays. He strikes out the side in the ninth.
What an outstanding job by Mark Lowe coming in. It's a big score, but comes in and does his job. But this was the night for David Price. He was absolutely outstanding, just dominating these Angels hitters tonight. This is a struggling Anaheim Angels lineup, and the last person you want to run into on a night like that is David Price. The ace took care of business.
David Price improves to 12-4 on the season, 3-0 as a Blue Jay. Big night for the offense. Ben Revere had a 4-hit night. 2-run home run for Smoke. We'll be right back at it tomorrow night. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. Here's Sportsnet Central.